Hello my friends and welcome to my annual video where I look back at some of my favourite games of the previous year. We are now in 2019, so I thought it was a great time to look back at my favourite games of 2018. 2019 was the year that Blade Runner was set, and I'm a little disappointed with mankind's progress because we don't have flying cars or robots, but I'm actually quite happy with the progress in the games industry. It seems now more than ever the players actually have more control over what is put in their games and how the games are generally shaped, and that's really good because previously it's all been about the shareholders, what they want, and basically they just want more sales, and sometimes more sales doesn't mean a better game. But now it seems like there's a bit of a shift in control where, especially with social media, people can just, if they're outraged enough with a game, it will affect the game's sales. And game developers are starting to notice that a lot more and starting to change their mind about the kind of things that they put in their games. Like an example this year was the big loot crate scandal. Loot crates seem to be dying off. I mean, they are being put in some games still, but it's a reason that I don't buy modern games. Actually, it makes it pretty difficult for me to make these videos because I'm sure people are coming here looking for the most recent new games, but to be honest, I don't buy that many brand new games, and part of the reason for that is because I've been burnt so many times in the past. Sequels have came out, and sometimes I've bought them and been really disappointed with them, and for that reason I rarely buy games day one or buy them when they're brand new, unless I know it's something that I'm definitely going to like, which is almost impossible to do these days until you actually get the game. So one example I will give you of a game that I got this year that I knew what to expect was Shenmue, the remake or the remaster. It's Shenmue 1 and 2, and actually the good thing about this is for a change, this actually comes with things inside. Rarely do you get anything. We actually get a small manual, which is unheard of these days. I hardly ever see that. And also a poster, which I guess I'll open up here. Nice little poster, which I kind of thought was nice just to see because you just rarely get anything at all when you buy games anymore. I don't know why. It can't be that expensive to just put a little bit of paper in there with some, at least the controls would be nice. But this is an example of a game that I bought and haven't even played yet because I know that it's going to take quite a bit of my time to invest in it, and I just haven't had the free time just to sit down and really go through that game. But it's an example of a game that I knew what to expect and I wanted to buy on day one. I wanted to send a message to the developers and to the gaming industry that these kind of games sell, there's a market for people, and especially on a physical disc as well. Like, I want to buy a physical copy of my games. And even though I'll maybe not play it for a little while, I just went out and bought it anyway, and hopefully I'll get around to it at some point. It's since I started making these videos, actually, Shenmue 3 has been on the horizon and it's been talked about. And this is just a nice little way to bridge the gap, and also a nice little way to send a bit of money to the developers as well. So I'm really glad I got Shenmue 2 on a disc and I can play it on my Xbox One. But I just haven't actually got around to playing it just yet, so I can't talk too much about it or show any footage of it. One other thing that I got this year, I got it in March actually, which is around my birthday, it just came out like a few days, I think, after my birthday, so it was a nice little surprise for me, a nice little thing for me to buy, was the C64 Mini. I've made lots of videos about this on my channel, so I'll not spend much time talking about it, but I'm still happy with it. It's still a nice way to play the C64 in a modern setup where I don't have to get my old C64 down and risk it exploding when I plug it in because it's so old. But I'm hoping a full version comes out of it. It's a nice. They've actually done an update, and I made an update video where you can just put a bunch of games on a memory stick. You couldn't do that when it first came out. So it's nice to see this still being updated, and I'm hoping we get a larger version of this sometime this year, in 2019 or next year. Another game where I knew what I was getting was Dark Souls Remastered. Now, a lot of people when this first came out, they were a little bit disappointed with it. A lot of people said, does it even need to be remade, because it hasn't changed very much But the reason that it hasn't really changed very much is because this was an Xbox 360 game that was remastered. So the Xbox 360 wasn't that far away, and it was in HD, so like there hasn't been that big of a jump in terms of graphics or anything like that compared to what standard definition to HD. That was a big jump. So it is going to be less noticeable, the changes that are in this game, and graphically Dark Souls I think looked pretty good anyway. I can see both sides of this argument, and it can seem like sometimes companies are just milking their games and just trying to put it on as many consoles to make as much money as possible. But that argument kind of falls down for Dark Souls because the Xbox 360 version is backward compatible, and it has been for quite some time. So if you don't want to buy the remaster, then you can still play Dark Souls 1 on your Xbox One using the disc. So this is just for a fan that really wants to relive the game again, but done in a slightly better way and doesn't mind spending a little bit of money to do so. And yes, you could argue graphically that Dark Souls 1 didn't need to be remastered, but it's not the graphics that I bought the game for. The fact is that on the original Dark Souls, Blight Town was more or less unplayable. It's a great part of the game, but it's so open and vast and there's so much going on at once that it just is usually very laggy on the Xbox 360. And I used to have problems connecting with friends a lot. We have much better co-op matchmaking, and Blight Town runs super smooth. There's no freezing or stuttering or anything like that. And to me, that's just worth the price alone. I'm all about preservation as well, so having games on as many of the new consoles as possible, I'm all for. I don't care if they keep re-releasing the same game. If a new Xbox came out and for some reason the old games weren't compatible but they re-released Perfect Dark, I would be perfectly fine with that. So Dark Souls Remastered was definitely one of my favourite games of 2018. Great co-op, and I had a lot of fun playing it and well worth picking up. Another game that could be argued didn't need a remake or remaster or whatever, re-released I guess, was Street Fighter. The Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. I already own multiple versions of Street Fighter 2 on different consoles, and through backwards compatibility I can already play Street Fighter 2 on my Xbox One. Street Fighter 2 has to be one of the most re-released games on the planet, and in fact you even get to see this in the museum section of the collection. It shows you all the different versions and even some pretty cool artwork as well. It's nice to see collections take the time to add these kind of features. I think it was done pretty well in Rare Replay too. There's also a character section in the museum where you can scroll through and read a little backstory for each of the characters, and it tells you which games they were in and things like that. But what I really found interesting about this was that you could cycle through each of the move animations and see all the little different frames. When you're playing the game, it's hard to appreciate how many different frames that have to be drawn for each of the moves and attacks. I remember I had a Street Fighter 2 comic book as a child, and it went into a little backstory about Blanka. I thought it was pretty cool to read a little bit more about the characters because you don't really get to see or hear any of that when you're playing the game, other than when you complete the game and you get like a few lines of text. One thing that really impressed me was that Street Fighter 3, the new generation, if you scroll through the sprites and that, it really shows you just how much detail this has over some of the earlier games. A special move could have as many as 20 individual frames that you can cycle through, which is pretty impressive, and I haven't even played Street Fighter 3, and in fact most of these arcade games I would never have got the chance to play, so it really is good to get them all on this disc and get it officially from Capcom. Because these were originally arcade games, the screen would have been a square, which of course nowadays our modern TVs are all widescreen. So what we have is a border around the screen, but you can change this to a kind of zoomed in version, which I think looks quite nice actually as well. Or you can go straight down to widescreen, which will stretch out the pixels and mess about with the aspect ratio a little bit. And this is how I actually played Street Fighter 2 on the Xbox 360, was kind of full screen like this. But actually going back to it now, I appreciate it being in its original format a lot more, and I don't actually mind the borders. I think they look kind of cool and they change for each of the different games. Street Fighter isn't the kind of game that I can just play for days on end, But it's the kind of thing that I'll just, every so often when I'm bored, I'll just dip into and I've got a spare half an hour and I don't really want to get too involved in a big story or anything like that. It's the perfect game to kill time with, and I'm looking forward to just dipping in and trying out all the different versions of the game. I think it's cool just to see things like how the different bonus stages are played in each of the different games. And because it has a local co-op, I'm looking forward to challenging friends when they come over. The next game I got was Warhammer Vermintide 2. I was a huge fan of the first game, and the second one improved a lot. I think it's a little bit more difficult actually. The weapons and the melee attacks feel a little bit more meaty whenever you actually hit the enemies. And I think the sceneries and the levels have been improved too. With that being said, the first levels were pretty good, but I just think in general it's probably a little bit more polished, and graphically just looks a little bit nicer. It's pretty much everything I would like to see in a sequel. Everything's just been upgraded, and it's just more of the same really. Not too much has changed in the core gameplay, but a couple of things have been optimized, I guess. Again, the purchase of this was a little like my purchase of Shenmue. I didn't really have time to play it, but I wanted to buy it just so that I could support the developers, and they knew that it's these type of games sell because they are really, really well made, and they're made with the community in mind, and the developers take a lot of time to listen to community feedback, and they update their game according to that feedback. And I think it's although in saying that, I found a few things I didn't like about it. The upgrading system's a little bit too complicated for me. You have to put a lot of time into the way you actually rank up your characters and things like that. But I can see why this is a good thing for long-term players, because it lets them play for a really long time and they're not just getting the same upgrades all the time, and there's a lot of replay value in these levels. It makes you want to replay the levels over and over again to see what new weapons you'll unlock. Another game I got this year was State of Decay 2. And although I did quite like it and played it for quite a bit when it first came out, I don't think there was enough changes from State of Decay 1 in this to make it really stand out. I mean, I was expecting a lot more. It was nice to have co-op, but it was kind of just like State of Decay 1 with co-op. I didn't feel like there was enough changes. And even though there's some DLC still coming out, and I played some of the DLC, I just didn't really fall in love with it the way that I thought I would. And I actually put this top of my top 10 zombie games video, and to be honest, in my next top 10 zombie game video it probably won't be top. I think I'll change that for something else, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of replay value. It does get quite repetitive, and I just didn't really fall in love with it. It was an okay game, and I liked it at the time, and I don't regret buying it or anything. I guess I just had higher expectations. It seemed like they spent a lot of time putting it into the Unreal Engine, which maybe the engine they made was broken, and a lot of companies do that. They just go with Unreal because they know there's a lot of research and development has went into that, so they don't have to build their own thing. But I think too much time was spent porting their game onto the Unreal Engine, and not enough had been changed. Another game I got finally was Hitman. This is the complete first season. I didn't like the whole episodic release. I just wanted to buy the full game, and finally they did release this full season, and I bought it, but it took so long for that to come out, and I kind of still haven't even played it. I bought it cheap second hand, and then Hitman 2 has been released, and from all reports they're really, really good games. But I don't even know, I've heard that Hitman 2 actually also has all of the first games if you buy a certain DLC thing, so it's just the way that they've set the whole thing up is so confusing to me, and I just want to buy the full game. I don't want to feel like I'm missing out in certain levels and stuff. So I can see they're probably trying to maximize sales or something like that, but it's sort of leaving people like me out in the dark who just like to buy the full game, and the whole thing seems kind of tainted for me. And actually I want to go back and play some of the older Hitman games, partly because I know that it's all just on a disc and I can just play all the maps there. And I know that some people probably think that might sound a bit strange and they don't mind the episodic thing, but for some reason it just really put me off, and it's a shame because they may think that their sales will be improved in the long run, but the sales of Hitman 2 were way down, and it's not to say that Hitman 2 is a bad game, and in fact it's getting really good reviews. Some people are even saying it's their best game of all time, so I want to get Hitman 2 eventually, and I probably will buy it. But the whole thing just is a little bit, the whole way it's being sold is just a little bit weird, and it's, I think, done harm in the long run, because now people didn't buy Hitman 2, so I think they made a mistake in the way that they made it episodic, I think, and so I'll eventually probably get that. Before I reveal my best game of the year, I do want to just mention another gaming pickup that I got, and that's the Lynx Vision. I just got this yesterday actually, and I traded my PSP for it, or one of my PSPs for it, and I'm hoping that this actually really improves the amount of time I can play my Xbox. If you see on the box here, it says you can stream your Xbox One and Steam or PC, or I've actually seen people using this to play retro games and stuff. You can actually install it on the tablet. So this is what it is here. It's like it's just a little tablet, and it's got controls and stuff like that, just like an Xbox One controller. I've heard you can also, in fact I've used it with my Xbox One controller. I just tried to test it out, and it's basically like the Wii U, like the Xbox One's answer to the Wii U, where you can turn your Xbox on and you don't even have to have your TV on, and it'll just stream directly onto your tablet. And this will hopefully, I live in a house where I have to share my TV. I don't get to just use it all the time. Other people are using my TV, so this is hopefully a way that I can play some of my Xbox One games without needing to use that big TV. And also Steam, I've got a huge Steam library of games that I just literally never play. Because when I'm on my PC, it's so that I can edit videos and things like that. So I don't get to play a lot of PC games, and I think this might be a good answer to that. Like, I could have my PC on and be anywhere in the house and just sit and play my games. So I'm hoping that, like, I've only really just got to grips with this, and I've actually had a little bit of connection issues, and I think it's something to do with port forwarding. So there's going to be a bit of time spent getting to grips with this, but I think in general this tablet's just going to allow me to play more games, hopefully, and also I can use the tablet to do things like write scripts for videos and just go on the internet easily without having to go on my desktop. So that'll be, I think this will actually improve how I play games and how I even make videos and things like that. So it's a pickup that I've just got, and I'm excited to use it in 2019. And if I do get it working and I start using it more and hopefully open up some ports and get it connecting a bit better, I'll maybe make some more videos on it, or like talk about it in my next video, in my 2019 video. So this brings me on to my best game of 2018. Now this is going to sound like a strange choice, but I can't give it to anything other than Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. This is like a game that was released as a stretch goal for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I've followed this for a while, this actually the main game, and I know it got funding. So basically the original creator of the Castlevania Symphony of the Night games left Konami, and he's now wanting to make his own Castlevania style game. So this is as close to Castlevania as you'll get, but not Castlevania. And I just absolutely fell in love with this little mini game. I didn't actually hear about it until quite a while after it came out. And when I did hear about it, and when I heard it was just a stretch goal kind of thing that they said they would do, I really didn't have much expectations for it. I thought it would just be a fun little cheap game to mess about on. And on my first playthrough, I was actually going to write this game off as something that was just a watered down Castlevania experience type thing. A bit like what you get with a mobile version of a game, where they just take the bare basics of the game and port it onto a mobile phone. But my first impression was so wrong. Yes, this is Castlevania boiled down, but it's boiled down to perfection. My favourite Castlevania game was Symphony of the Night because it had RPG elements, and because I just thought Alucard was a really cool character with some pretty cool special moves. But once I started unlocking some of the other characters, I realised that those moves were there, just split between the 4 different characters. And also, because this is boiled down, there is no need for backtracking. As much as I liked the exploration in Symphony of the Night, it could have been a pain sometimes to find out where to go next in the castle. This problem doesn't happen in Bloodstained, it's just pure action screen after screen. I think the game also has a perfect difficulty balance. The best I've actually seen in a long time. When I say perfect, what I mean is, on first playthrough of most levels and most bosses, you'll think that it's impossible. But you'll soon work out that you can avoid the boss's attack patterns, and you could be able to beat the boss without taking any damage at all, as long as you get your timings right. These are some of the best boss fights I've had probably since some of the Zelda games I've played, and their bosses are so much better than Symphony of the Nights. In fact, the entire game is designed around the characters that you unlock and the character's special moves. Using the right character or the right character ability at a certain time will make a level so much easier, and that's really where the difficulty comes in. To get all of the different endings, you have to complete the game using just one character or a combination of the different characters, and you soon realise that if you don't have all your characters at your disposal, you'll have to take different paths that are much harder than the paths that you may have taken before. You're forced to go down the harder routes whenever you're playing on the different difficulties. I really can't praise the challenge in this game enough. It is such a way that a child could play it if you were playing on easy, and because you have a health bar and that you can pick up more health, it allows you to be a little sloppy actually. And in fact, my 2-year-old son is actually able to play this game much better than he's able to play Mario, because in Mario if you hit an enemy you can die instantly just from 1 or 2 hits. But in Curse of the Moon you do get quite a generous health bar, so I do think this game's quite accessible for everyone, and if my 2-year-old son can play a level, I'm sure you can too. So there you have it, that was my favourite game of 2018. I'm looking forward to 2019. Like I said at the start of this video, it looks like the tides have finally started to turn. Games are being designed with the gamers in mind a lot more than the shareholders. And I think a lot of the things I was looking forward to are going to happen in 2019. For example, we're finally now getting Resident Evil 2 remake. In fact, it's coming out later this month, so I'm looking forward to getting that. I've pre-ordered it for day one. I'm going to go down and get that game, and I've actually taken the day off work, so I plan to really play a lot of that. Shenmue 3 looks like it's things are going nicely, which I've been looking forward to for a long time. And actually, there's another game, Command & Conquer, they're talking about doing a remake of that. Now, I actually plan on going back and playing the old Command & Conquer games. I've even downloaded them, and I'm just going to start, maybe even do like a little video about those old games. The idea behind that is I want to play it through the original before the new remake comes out and potentially destroys what a really good game. So I just want to play it for one last time before EA get their hands on it and ruin it, which probably will happen. Also, World War Z's coming out this year, so I'm a huge zombie game fan, so I'm looking forward to that. The Walking Dead's coming out on consoles as well, and this was a game that I was looking forward to because the graphics looked insane, but it's already out on the PC and it's getting some really bad reviews, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that. It looks like the developers are going to spend a little bit more time polishing it, but I don't know, I don't think it's going to be an amazing game. I think honestly like the best game I'm looking forward to is probably going to be Resident Evil 2. I'm expecting good things from that, and I think it's going to be one of those games I play quite a lot. So those are some of the games I'm interested in at the minute. I'd love to hear what your favourites are. I know there's lots of games that I didn't cover in this, things like Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption, things like that. Those are just games, especially Red Dead, that I just know I wouldn't have the time to play, and it's not like they're not going to make enough sales and I have to support them by buying it or anything like that. So I know that I'll probably pick it up years down the line and I'll still have as good an experience as I would now. I just have a big backlog of games that I have to play, and I'm hoping that this new tablet that I've got, I can actually, especially Shenmue. So Shenmue's an offline game, Shenmue 2, 1 and 2, and I can just play that hopefully on my tablet, and it should stream fine because it's not like an online game or anything like that. So hopefully in the new year I get to play more of my games and I don't just buy them and kind of hold on to them, because at the minute I'm finding it hard to actually get time to play new games. And also new games, there's things in new games that really annoy me. I'll share this with you actually before I leave. I posted this up on my Twitter actually, and loot crates and all these like really annoying mechanics that seem to be in so many games at the minute. This was one that came out recently, and it's that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 has the option to purchase a red dot I think it costs $1 actual money, or £1. But the way that games are just being broken up and sold off in like little pieces to you is just really crazy, especially considering Call of Duty was really expensive to buy in the first place. So that kind of puts me off modern games, which makes it hard for me to make these kind of videos. So a lot of the games I'll talk about is actually remasters of old games and things like that, because I know what to expect. So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at the minute this year. I think it's been an okay year. I'm looking forward to next year even more. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and please let me know what your favourite games were in the comments.